Hello, I'm Nathan Judo. I'm delighted to be joined in probably St James's car park somewhere in
Yeah.
Newcastle by Mr. Joe Edwards. Joe, well, looking at one point like it was going to be a 7.5 hour round trip for absolutely nil pois, but as normal, they concede and they've come back storming, I guess, and got a point. What do you make of the game, Joe?
Well, one draw with Newcastle. I mean, in these uncertain times, you can almost bet on that and take it as a certain. Yeah, I think a draw was a fair result, really, on the balance of things. Of course, there were big chances at either end towards the end, but Wolves, they were a bit shoddy at the back, lacking cutting edge going forward. And Newcastle really were lacking a cutting edge as well. I think both sides will come away with that really with a point, and yeah, I think that's a fair reflection of the game, to be honest.
Fair reflection, but you've got to say that Newcastle probably could have been, clear really. Some of the chances they had in the first half, Almiron, of course, missing where he should have done better, but there were plenty more, and kind of the same script for the second half as well. It was all Newcastle, and then Wolves finished both halves stronger. Newcastle a succession of injuries as well, which probably didn't help them. But same old Wolves. They are keeping this this unbeaten run going by hook or by crook, but they're still not playing perfect football, are they, by any stretch of the imagination?
No, it's far from perfect, but they are churning out results. It's I'm allowed to be too negative going, after this, because ultimately they're 5 unbeaten, which is the longest run that they've got on this season. And February was an unbeaten month, and Nuno will probably find himself in contention for the manager of the month, if not winning it. So it's. We know Wolves.
Pep might have something to say about that.
Well, but
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Well, the Wolves are getting better. There's still a lot that needs improving. They've got to attack aerial balls with more intent and more aggression. They didn't do that for the first goal. Dendonker's flat-footed, gets caught out by Lascelles. That's meat and drink for him. And then, William Jose just. His goalless run continues, and he never looked like scoring, to be honest. So he was fortunate that Neves turned into a top centre forward for a minute. So more positives than negatives, I'd say, but obviously still things to work on.
Weird season. Ruben Neves scores from inside the box, and now he scores his first header for the club. What is going on?
Wolves were crying out for a centre forward, and the only surprise for me was that Jose stayed on the pitch for so long. Whether it's all entirely down to him, I'm not sure, but I'd like to see a bit more movement. I think he's a bit static and a bit predictable. I think teammates can perhaps find him a little bit more at times, and Nuno alluded to that afterwards. But at least when Fabio Silva comes on, he's getting himself about, and he's missed a chance at the end. It was a great save by Dubravka, but he's at least getting in the positions and looking like scoring. So that's a bit of a conundrum for Nuno. But yeah, Neves, fantastic header, a header that any striker would have been proud of, and that's exactly what you want to see from him. A light run from midfield, getting on the end of a cross, like a Lampard-esque run or something like that. That. He's becoming a bit more dynamic. I think that's 5 goals in his last 9 games, albeit 3 of those are penalties, but 2 of those have been from inside the box as well. So Never's changing up his game a bit, and while the strikers continue to kind of flatter to deceive, it's at least nice to see him step up on the goal front.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating, isn't it, that they do finish both halves so strongly. They had chances towards the end. I mean, Fabio Silva, goodness me, for all, and you mentioned him there, for all the I guess, unfair sometimes criticism, I think, from fans. This kid's 18-year-old, but yes, he hasn't scored from open play yet. However, that was a fantastic save. Okay, it's hit him, I think, Dubravka, without him knowing, really, on the shoulder. But at the same time, he gets himself into some fantastic positions. And if you're going to be a striker, you need to make those runs, and he does make them. Fair play to him. It could have been a different story.
I think he's knocking on the door, and he's had a tough time, and he obviously. He's coming in a lot sooner than he or anybody else would have anticipated. But Jose came in January. It was a case of getting an experienced man in up front. But the longer Jose continues to go without a goal and not really look like scoring a goal, then maybe sooner rather than later, Silva will find himself in from the start again. It's it's not an ideal situation up front, because I think the wingers were good again tonight, but they just haven't really got a lot to feed off through the middle. So one way or another they'll look to sort that out, but in the meantime at least the midfield, and namely Neves, he's stepping up and helping ease the burden a little bit.
Look, Joe, 12th in the table. They're a point away from 10th. A win away from 9th, and okay, maybe 7th is going to be a bit of a stretch, but top half finish is very much on the cards, isn't it?
Oh yeah, we alluded to it on the podcast, didn't we? I think they'll finish probably about 10th. I think 7th's out of reach, and Wolves are, while they are getting better, they're not blowing teams away, and I don't see them forging that kind of run, scoring enough goals, to be honest, to get enough wins to move that high up in the table. But they're getting harder to beat, and they're responding to setbacks. They were poor for 60 minutes tonight, really. But they, of course, he surged towards the end of that first half, but then kind of picked themselves up and responded to the goal, and had a strong finish to the game, as Nuno said. So they're showing a bit of character, they're showing a bit of grit, and ultimately they're carving out results. Five unbeaten, considering where they were at the turn of the year, is a pretty decent achievement, to be fair. So hopefully they can take it forward. Obviously, a big test coming up at Manchester City, but I think there's more reason to be positive than negative in the minute. Yeah,
quick turnaround, Joe. Like you say, Tuesday night, Man City. They're on a poor run of form as well, so should be an interesting one. Look, we alluded to kind of Fabio Silva might come into the reckoning for that game, just to give Jose a rest, maybe. But there's other players who are probably knocking the door. We keep saying João Moutinho might need a rest, but he keeps on playing him. But maybe there might be a change. It'll be interesting to see what Nuno does in this game. Whether he does, I'm not going to say wave a white flag, but maybe does rest and rotate. Or he just plays them all the way through. It's he's got some interesting decisions to make, isn't he? Because they're not firing all cylinders by any means, Wolves. But at the same time, we all know what happened last season and going to Man City.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went a bit similar to how they did at Old Trafford and played Neto and Traore just kind of up there, and maybe no central striker, just because Jose and Silva aren't really scoring anyway, and maybe they'll try and pack out the midfield and try and nullify City that way and just kind of hold on for a draw, really. I wouldn't be surprised at that. So maybe Kilman comes back into the back three and Dendoncker goes into midfield, because Dendoncker had another shaky performance at the back, I thought, tonight, and switched off for the goal and was
Tasawi.
And was pretty fortunate that St Maximin ended up going off, because he was given the run around in the first half. So maybe that's the change for City, but for now it's another point, it's another result, and a decent night's work. Nothing outstanding, but you take it. Could be worse.
Newcastle 1, Wolves 1. Get yourself to your Newcastle hotel, mate. Get yourself a good night's sleep, and I'll see you in the week for the poddy. Take care, mate.